If we ever wonder, like, why do we think so much, right? This is today's topic, by the way. I'll read the question in a second. If we wonder so often, why do we think so much? Where does this all come from? It's very much like eating a lot of food. When you eat a lot of food, then it is digested. And it is the case that we are not only eating through our mouth, but also through our eyes and our ears. Everything that you see every day, wherever you are, whoever you're talking with, is content that flows into your consciousness, that comes into your mind. That's why you can remember what you did this morning. You have an image of it in your mind because you saw it with your eyes. And that's why some people, when they meditate, suddenly they hear an array of old songs that they've heard before. Where does that come from? Because we fed it into our mind. What about low self-esteem, self-hate, tension, worries, despair, depression, anxiety? That's all stuff that has been fed into our mind at some point. And sometimes consistently so, over many years. And then now we have all that stuff inside. And when you meditate, for a moment you're not filling any content, you're not adding any content, but you become acutely aware of all the content that's there. And so many people think, oh my God, that's a lot of thoughts, that's a lot of anxiety, a lot of restlessness. For some it's very overwhelming. So this is, by the way, a part of meditation practice. Sometimes you will feel overwhelmed by yourself, by our own tendency to create suffering for ourselves. But here it's very, very important to actually engage this with awareness, to look at it clearly, to understand it. Understanding is the path, not rejecting it, not trying to get rid of it, not just eliminating symptoms, but actually dealing with the root cause of all that. So today we received a question from two friends who did a retreat with us. So Katie and Frank ask, mostly we practice meditation twice a day, in the morning and in the afternoon. Sometimes, especially in the morning, a kind of thought storm arises in these sessions. That means that our mind is bombing us with so many thoughts that we are feeling unable to get in the moment of present awareness. They are so strong that we cannot even look at them. When they arise, we get so bound to them that we are right in the middle of these thoughts. And additionally, they are so weird and unreal, like fantasy stories. At the end, it feels like sitting and thinking. Do you have an advice how to handle this? Okay, so today's topic is particularly weird and unreal thoughts that might arise bombing you while you're doing meditation practice. It's a very common phenomenon, so both of them, they are not alone with that. In fact, in the beginning, if you start meditation, this becomes more and more obvious to yourself. It will sometimes even feel like your thoughts are getting more, and they're getting more strange and more weird. But that is not the case. It's more like you're turning up the light in a room that has been dim for the past 20 or so years. And the more you turn up the light, the more you see the little kind of spots on the wall. You see the little kind of rests of food on the carpet. And suddenly you know, that's where this stench comes from. And then you see all the chaos in this room gradually. The more the light comes off. It's not that suddenly the chaos arises as you turn the light up, but it's always been there. It's just now you're actually seeing it acutely. It's right there. We're seeing our own state with honesty. And then you will see for the first time also, well, that's the reason why we are constantly keeping ourselves so busy with many distractions throughout the entire day. It's very hard for most people to sit quietly for long enough to actually see how they suffer. And it reveals how we suffer. These moments of quietude, of stillness. It actually shows this underlying current of misery that's there for all of us, which might be kind of like a carpet that you put over the dirt. It looks nice, but the dirt is still underneath the carpet. Distraction is much like that. If your dog poos into your living room and you just put a carpet on top of it, it doesn't solve the problem. The stench will still be there. And that stench is the restlessness that people have. This general sense of unease. We can't really relax for long before we need to do the next thing. It's this constant onward pushing in the mind. Forward, forward, next. What's next? You can't wait to get to the meditation class. You're in the meditation class, you can't wait for it to end. It ends, you can't wait to get lunch. You have lunch, you can't wait to get to the next point of the program. And so there is this basic restlessness. And I found for myself, the more I meditate, the more I look at myself with honesty, the more I see that. It's not very pleasant. That's not a pleasant aspect of meditation practice. That's a bit of an unpleasant aspect. But unpleasant doesn't mean bad. Here in that case, it means, okay, now I can do something about this so that I can create ease for myself and happiness and well-being, and then continue with my life in a way that is much more pleasant. But if I don't see this general unease that I carry around, then I cannot change that. And then each time life forces me to stop and look, I'm super uncomfortable with it. And you see these many thoughts, where do they come from? Why do we have so many weird, strange thoughts? It might not start off as a weird thing that you went through, right? You might, for example, you might sit there and suddenly a thought comes up, what if Buddha was an alien? And what if he comes back to abduct me, and then do experiments on me? And then you imagine the whole thing, right? Like Buddha abducting you, pulling you up into his spaceship, performing weird experiments on you. And then you come back out of the spaceship and you tell your friends about it, and no one is going to believe you. What are you going to do then? Nobody will believe you that Buddha actually was an alien. And so now you have an artificially created problem that's totally weird. But you still try to solve it. Like, how should I tell my friends in the best possible way that I was abducted? Maybe I should just keep it to myself. Yes, it's serious. We can come up with these kind of things in meditation practice, all kinds of weird stuff. Mostly going through scenarios. And so where does this come from? Well, you might have watched an alien movie at some point in your life. You might have watched a documentary about aliens. Maybe you've seen a person coming to you talking about aliens a few days earlier. And then in this meditation, you were sitting very still, so the thought arose, I'm sitting still like the Buddha. And then it took it from there. Then you see yourself like a Buddha then. And then the question, what if the Buddha was an alien, comes up. And it's a mixture of all the things that we have consumed. It's just mixed together like a dream. Dreams are also things that are mixed together. Things that we have experienced earlier. And then they're all mixed up, creating their own kind of stories. And thought works like that. That's why there are these weird thoughts. It's just the digestive process of our mind. You could say your mind has diarrhea or something like that. It's food poisoning. It's a symptom. Too much crap, too much rubbish information. And we're full of it. And then in meditation it comes up, it bubbles up. And sometimes your mind is almost like a thing, it just wants to vomit all that stuff out. It sees like, oh, now Tobi is sitting meditation, great, let's get rid of all the crap. And then all the crap comes out. And then I feel like, oh my God, where does all that come from and how do I stop it? You don't need to stop it. Like when you have food poisoning, you should not stop yourself from vomiting it out. It's good. Vomiting is good. It gets out the poison. It's the body's natural function to get rid of poison. And so your mind does it the same thing. It does it every night in your dreams, and it does it during the daytime when you meditate. It just gets out of all this old stuff. And all you need to do in these cases is just relax. Just leave it. If your mind becomes so particularly strong, if the storm of thought becomes so strong, surrender. Just leave it alone. Then don't do anything. Then doing nothing is your best option. If you offer more resistance to it, you're blocking the natural process. If you're in its way, the mind cannot purify itself, it cannot cleanse itself. The problem is if we latch on to these thoughts, if we identify with them, if we feel as if we were the thinker, that's the problem. So by doing nothing, I mean, allow these thoughts to come and go, come and go, come and go. Just let them pass through. There's nothing we need to do about them. Just observe. One weird thought, the next weird thought, another one, and another one, and another one. You just want to sit there going next, 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 next. Like sitting at a cash register. You just go next, next, next. Just scanning one after another. Not getting involved with them, just letting them come and go. But you will notice the difficulty in this is that when we are watching our thoughts come and go, we're often watching them with a sense of aversion, dislike. I don't want to have that many thoughts. I don't want to have weird thoughts. And that's what the real problem is, this aversion to thought. The thoughts themselves are nothing. It's not a real problem at all. The problem is that we consider them to be bad. And there is a sense of, I should not have these many thoughts. I should not have weird thoughts. I should be all peaceful and enlightened and sit there totally calm and well composed. Why do I have so many thoughts? That's the problem. The should. I shouldn't experience this. But you do. Yeah, but I should not. But you do. Yeah, but there it is. It's right there. Look, it's the truth. All that's required of us here in meditation practice is honesty. Just see the way it is. That's easier said than done. Because we're so used to kind of do something to ourselves. I need to kind of fix myself. I need to arrange myself differently so that I can always be happy and peaceful. But that's not how we are as a human being, right? We're not always happy and peaceful. Sometimes we're angry. Or not. I know sometimes angry. Do you know the experience of anger? Do you know the experience of confusion? Yeah, it's all normal stuff. It's normal human stuff. And as soon as you see that as normal, you're okay with it. And if you're okay with it, it can pass. It can do its thing and then it can pass. But you're relaxed about it. You're not suffering your thoughts. You allow them to pass by. Sometimes people build their houses on an active volcano. And then it's a big drama when the volcano erupts and takes away all their houses and their possessions. Well, if you don't want this to happen, then don't build your house on a volcano, right? You're in the way of nature's fire. If you put yourself into its way, well, then sooner or later, whatever you're putting in its way will be deleted. And so, in the same way, if your mind erupts with thoughts, just get out of its way. Otherwise, you'll be burned by it. It will be super unpleasant. I don't want this. Why does this happen to me? Feels almost as if thoughts were attacking me. So, what is it that can be attacked? And what is it that cannot be attacked? So the thing that can be attacked is what we call the personality, the sense of me. I am sitting here and I am doing my meditation, and suddenly there are thoughts coming up. And I see them. Notice these I see them. And they're right there and they're bothering me. So something is bothered by a natural phenomenon. Something says, no, thoughts should not be there. Peace should be there. I should be peaceful and relaxed. But instead I'm harassed by thoughts and feelings and emotions. That one that is harassed, that is the real problem. That one that is attacked by just normal stuff. Thoughts, it's normal stuff. You wouldn't say things like, I'm attacked by my heartbeat. My heart shouldn't beat. It should be all quiet. My hair shouldn't grow, but it grows. Yeah, but it shouldn't. Yeah, but it does. So you can get really upset about your hair growing. I have to shave every week. Well, relax. That's what hair does. It's normal. And what about your mind? Well, it thinks that's what minds do. And it thinks crazy stuff. That's also what minds do. But you say, no. Not my mind. My mind should be well behaved and it should be enlightened and only have kind thoughts, if at all. And for most of the time it should be totally quiet. But it isn't. It's very noisy. And that's where we are starting from. To see simply that this is the truth. Right now, this is what it feels like to be me. Noisy, overwhelmed, confused, unhappy, too many thoughts. Can you accept that? Can you accept yourself being overwhelmed by thoughts? And if you can truly accept that, say, okay, it's all normal, it's all good. That's what thoughts do. I'm going to relax about this now. I'm not trying anything. No agenda. Then there is relaxation. And with the relaxation, thoughts subside. So it's really that peace arises within you when you stop trying to be peaceful. But that's, again, easier said than done. I habitually notice myself trying to be peaceful. I've been doing this for many years. This is a very deep pattern. Trying something. I sit down and I'm going to try something now. I need to do something to myself now. Call it meditation. And the agenda is to change who I am into something I imagine to be better, more acceptable, less human maybe, more divine. And since I have no clue what divine actually is, I'm left with an imagination of it, and that's what I chase. My imagination of the divine. And hopefully I will get there very soon. Maybe I need to try harder. The harder I try, the more tense I become. And sometimes it takes me a long time. I can build up tension, build up, until I'm 40 minutes into the practice, and then I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? It's like this, I remember it. Oh, I'm here to relax, and yet I'm not doing it. I'm not relaxing at all. I'm trying to relax. And that's that very thing that keeps me from relaxing, right? And then I try to get rid of thoughts. What do you think? Am I successful with that one? Trying to get rid of thoughts? Never. But thoughts disappear if I'm not interested in them anymore. It's my interest that keeps them alive. The more I'm interested in my thoughts or in their dissolution, the more power they have over me, because I'm so invested in them. And so I can only be relaxed when they're gone. And all my attention is there. That's my problem. It's right there. It's loud and noisy and stormy, and I don't know what to do with it. Now that my thoughts have all the power over me, I'm attackable because I have an agenda. I have an interest. I'm invested. As soon as you're invested, that's it. As soon as you're here with an agenda, that's it. And that's very subtle. Agendas can be very subtle. They come right in through the back door again. You see them, you let them go, and they come, I just let my agenda go. I did really well there. That's another agenda. And it looks like it's in the past, so it looks like it's not an agenda, but it is. Because you're assuming from seeing your past that your future is going to be like that. That's the trap. It's like each year when you're celebrating birthday, you're celebrating your death. It's a trap. But it's still fun. Maybe now things change a little bit. This is disillusionment, which is good. Not being subject to illusion. Not being fooled by thinking, oh, what we are doing here is just one-sided effort. This is only good, what I'm doing. And I'm trying to get out of the bad. That you can separate them. So why not just relax? You can still celebrate birthday and relax instead. But now you have a more thorough view of what that entails. Thoughts are neither good nor bad either. This is just thoughts. It's just thoughts. Relax. Relax. That's all we can do. Relax. If it becomes overwhelming, well, that's your option, right? You can still relax. And that's what we learn by sitting still. When we sit still in meditation, it's a challenge, isn't it? To sit still. But it's one of the biggest points of training, is to learn to sit perfectly still. Not to react to the various demands of the body, which is just restless energy manifesting itself. Some people have very troubled minds. They cannot sit still for a second. And then you take it from the body inwards. You keep the body still and you relax. It's going to be tough. For the first week, second week, third week, maybe the first month or two, it's going to be a bit tough to relax, really. Not to react, but to relax. And then you can do that with thoughts more and more. Lots of thoughts are coming in. Relax. Just let them pass and move on. So we need to develop this skill to respond to the needs of the moment. What is required of me right now? Is it kindness? Is it patience? Am I supposed to block that one? Sometimes suppression is required. You need to suppress something. Sometimes you just need to leave it. But when it comes to thoughts, and particularly when they start to become overwhelming, that's a clear sign that you're resisting, that you're pushing against those thoughts. The more you push, the greater the storm. It's almost like there's a river flowing by and you hop into it and you try to push against it. It shouldn't flow. And the more you push, the more you get exhausted. But then our tendency is to say, oh, the river is too strong. No, it's you're in it. That's the problem. That's the real problem. I'm having too many thoughts. No, you're pushing against yourself. That's the real problem. That's what we oversee. Because we tend not to see ourselves, what we are doing, like jumping into the river. There's this story of Ajahn Chah, and he's in his monastery in the north of Thailand. And there's a party going on around this monastery, and the villagers, they throw a party, and it goes for about 3 days or so. They have their market, and they have their speaker systems turned up to the max. And the monks try to meditate, and they can't, because it's just super noisy, and the noise won't stop. Everyone who lives for a little while in Thailand, you know, these markets can be very noisy. Particularly if you're near to a market, sometimes it's just really, really loud. And so the monks start to talk about this with one another. They go, oh, it's too noisy. I can't sit. Can you sit? No, can't either. It's just too much noise. And second day, it just doesn't stop. It goes day and night. And so they decide, okay, let's just get together and go to the abbot, Ajahn Chah, to the master, and let him know that we might have to do something about this noise, because after all, the villagers are making bad karma by disturbing the monks from meditating, and so all these ideas are there. And so they go to the master and say, is there any possibility that we can turn, or tell the villagers to turn it down, because the noise is disturbing us, we can't do our meditation? And Ajahn Chah's answer very straight, no, the noise is not disturbing you, you are disturbing the noise. It's very true. But this is what we don't see. We sit down in our meditation posture, we close our eyes, and where does the attention go? It goes to the noise, right? And what does it do with the noise? It tries to get rid of it. Can it? Can your attention alone get rid of the noise? No, it can't. So what's the result of that? Frustration, isn't it? It's that simple. It's like your mind tries to turn off the speakers, and of course it can't, and then it's frustrated that it can't turn off the speakers, and then it blames the speakers for its own frustration. You can do that with noise, and you can do that with thoughts also. It's the same thing, really. It's not thoughts disturbing you, it's you disturbing your thoughts, isn't it? It's not emotions attacking you, it's you attacking your emotions. You're not leaving it alone. You're not letting go, in other words. So each time you have that agenda, like, I need to get rid of the noise, I need to get rid of the thoughts, you're super vulnerable. You are a subject, you are enslaved to whatever disturbs you. There can be people, events, noise, whatever. Whatever it is that is disturbing you, it's not that thing. It never is outside. As hard that this might be to swallow for some, but that is the truth. There is, in fact, nothing outside of you that can make you suffer. It is only the way we direct our attention and the agendas that we have that make us suffer. The wanting and the not wanting. We want things to last that are impermanent, and we want things to go away that stay for a moment here. Like the noise, for example. I want it to go away, I want it to go away, I want it to stop. Yeah, but it's there. Yeah, but I don't want it. It's too many thoughts, but they're there. Yeah, but I don't want them. Well, what to do? Open up. Stop disturbing yourself. It's a synonym for meditation. Not disturbing yourself. And not disturbing the world. AKA, relax. AKA, let go. AKA, let it be. The idea that everything needs to be perfect so you can meditate, including yourself. I need to be perfect so I can meditate. That's an illusion. Because you're a changing phenomenon. One day you're like that, one day you're like this. If you're following that, you will never meditate. Only when you're feeling great. And then you sit down and you meditate, and then other feelings come up. And then, do you stop the meditation? No, of course not. We relax then. Again, easier said than done. Leaving things alone. That's the key. So leave your thought storm alone. Let it be a storm. Let it be a storm. Tell your thought storm, well then go ahead and blow me away. Let's see what you got. And then see what happens. Now you're open. You allow your thoughts. So what can they do to you? What can thoughts do to you? Being here as awareness. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm recounting my own story with weird thoughts. And this seems to be a very common thing, by the way, that when I was at the Buddhist monastery, I did a retreat, and after the retreat, I developed this kind of really strange problem in my mind. My mind would start to have all these really bad thoughts. And in the beginning, they were just like every now and then, just a bad thought coming into my mind, but disturbingly bad. Like, in a way that it would kind of wake me up and go like, whoa, what was that? Why would I think this? It's like real bad stuff, right? And of course I was shocked, because in the monastery, all I tried to do was be holy. Be as holy and spiritual as I could be. So my medicine against those bad thoughts was, in the beginning, I just tried to pray. I would visualize a Buddha sending me light, and I would pray and recite mantras and try to relax through it. And you know what my mind did? When I visualized the Buddha, it would turn the Buddha into something really bad. Like give him a pig head or something. Or show the Buddha in really bad situations. And then my mind was almost like, you think that's bad? And I was like, yeah, that's really bad. Now how about that one? And then it would come up with something that tops it. And so it got worse and worse, and it was absolutely horrible. Because on top of that, we had all these senior monks, like Tibetan monks who spent years and years in caves. Old monks, 84, 83 years old. And I had the feeling that they look right through me. They can see all of my thoughts. And that made it so much worse, because each time when they were around, my mind would just go crazy. It was almost like showing off just how bad I was to them. Insulting them in the worst possible ways, and it's just absolutely horrible. And I felt really bad about it, and it went worse and worse every day. And it got for about 3 months, getting worse and worse. And by the end of these 3 months, I was literally scared that something is broken inside. Like I was really, really concerned. There wasn't any fun anymore in it, because I was going through my day just constantly trying to get the thoughts out, and it didn't work. It got worse and worse by the day. And so finally, I decided to go to my teacher with this problem. And I sat in front of him and I told him, well, I have this really embarrassing problem. And my mind is just going absolutely insane, absolutely crazy. It has all these really bad thoughts. And my teacher said, okay, interesting, he said. And then, do you want that? He asked me. And I said, no, not at all. And then he said something remarkable. He said, well, then there's no problem at all. He said, then that's not you. And immediately I understood something was different about what he said. I was like, okay, yeah, because I'm the guy that doesn't want those thoughts, so how can the bad thoughts be me? And so I went out of the office after talking with my teacher. And then the old monks came just down the stairs, and I looked at them, and normally my mind would just go crazy. And this time I told my mind, all right, now go ahead, say something bad. I told my mind like this, say something bad. And what do you think happened? Nothing. It was dead quiet. It was almost like, for the first time I was seeing it, and it was like an embarrassed little boy that can't pee if you're looking at him. I cannot pee if you're looking at me.
You don't have to be a little boy.
Yeah, it felt very much like that. It felt very much like that. The mind was like, and I was up there looking at it. And the mind was like, if you're looking, I can't say anything bad. Impossible. And that was like a big insight for me at this time. That was a big life changer there. Because it gave me so much frustration, so much pain, so much suffering in these 3 months before that. That was such a relief. And from then on, every time my mind went like coming up with crazy stuff, I would just tell it, oh yeah, go ahead, knock yourself out. And I would just look at it. And then my mind would be in this kind of embarrassed state, like, but I can't go crazy if you're looking. And that's precisely how the mind works. If you're seeing it, if you're looking right at it, it can't do anything because you're not identified. To give you this example with a car, you're either in the car driving it or you're out of it. If you're out of it looking at it, the car is not driving. It can't drive. You're not in it. It needs you to be in it. You need to be identified, meaning you need to feel as if you were the thinker. And you need to feel as if you were the one resisting thought. Then you have your problem. But if you can just leave your mind alone and say, the mind goes through its usual drama, go ahead, knock yourself out, have a thought storm. Next time you meditate, Katie and Frank, sit down and tell your mind, go ahead, if you want to have a thought storm, be my guest. And see what happens. This should do the trick. It usually does. And you might have to try a few times to get it right. But the key is in just completely allowing yourself to go crazy. And just watch. Let the mind do its thing. It will pass. It doesn't have any power anymore over you because you're unattackable. You're here as awareness, not as a personality that is in trouble. That's the difference. You're unattackable. Okay. So that's pretty much all that comes to mind for today. Are there any questions?